Hey guys, this is us, eh?
Welcome.
The Brotherhood Brew. Sure.
Yeah,
Mr. Richard, how you feeling?
a bit nervous. That's the honest answer. I'm a bit nervous, but yeah, let's do it.
Guys, this is us. This is the crew. We also have Frank in the background. He's the one who's doing the cameras.
Shout out to Frank.
Shout out to Frank. Shout out to Frank. So basically today, guys, we're just going to be talking about the vision and the mission of the Brotherhood Brew.
Yes.
I think there's a lot to speak about. I will try condense it.
Okay.
We have Mr. Vision Bearer in front of us today. The man who does not like the camera, but we're just gonna try and break it down as far best as possible, and maybe just invite the guests in on what we're thinking, what we're trying to build, and what God is doing in our lives, and how we want to share what God is doing in our lives with the people at large. Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Let's start with you, Richard. So when you thought about this man's thing, because I remember when you first talked to me, we didn't have a name, we didn't have a set name. You had something in mind. You had something in mind. I don't know if we're allowed to say that now because we have a different brand. But I remember you giving me a call and you're like, bro, we need to chat. I'm like, what did this man want to talk about now? But I came through and I heard you and I was like, I definitely want to be behind this. This is definitely speaking to something I want to support as well. So just give us a bit of a background story of, how you got to where you are now with this concept.
Yeah. Where do I start from? For me, it was. I think it comes from a point of always trying to ask God, am I doing enough? In the concept of you as an individual and on a great commission personally to ask yourself, are you doing enough? Then one night, I think I was having a chat with my wife, and somehow I didn't feel heard, if I can say, and I had these emotions running through me, and so I'm sitting there and I'm like, I need to speak to somebody, that was my struggle. I'm like, I need to speak to somebody because I feel like I'm not being heard, or whatever that I was saying was not validated at that time, and so I'm sitting there, I couldn't sleep, I'm thinking, who do I talk to? That was the question that came in my head. Who do I talk to? And I couldn't get the answer, not necessarily meaning that I don't have friends but at that time, I think I thought of the question in a broader view, like, okay, if you're going through something like this, you want to be heard, you want someone to validate what you're feeling at the moment, or what you are feeling in that setup, where do you go? So that question just came in my head, and I was like, no, man, there's something lacking, because basically means I'm not the only one who goes through this.
100%.
It's a lot of guys that are going through this and they don't know where to go. Who do you speak to? When you're going through a certain struggle, personally, a certain struggle spiritually in marriage. Who do you talk to?
And let alone being a man, that must be like a daunting thing altogether. Like, who am I going to speak to as a man?
Yeah. So then I just woke up that morning, and eventually I slept. And then I woke up that morning thinking, we gotta do something about it. We gotta open up a space where guys are able to come, and be vulnerable, speak, and someone is just listening. I gotta have a space where I'm able to go have a sit, chat to somebody. They just listening, no interruption, just listening, no judging. Yeah, and just validating what I'm feeling, because sometimes, just the validation of someone coming to you and say, hey, bro, I feel you, I hear you, where you're coming from, that's what you need,
real.
And if they have to bring another perspective of what they see, it's okay, but first validation of what you're feeling is the important thing, so that's what I missed on that night, the validation of what I was feeling, so which brought up the idea of like, no man, we need to have something. We need to have a place of vulnerability, a place that's that's open for guys to come in, and we can have these chats, we can talk about anything. You're free to say anything, you're not gonna feel intimidated, feel shy, or embarrassed or anything,
Here we are. I don't know about not feeling shy because we got lights and cameras all over the place, but I think that's also what drew me to this vision, in a sense that, listen, men are struggling out there. Men don't have places and spaces where they can be vulnerable. And I was like, geesh, man, I need to plug into this. I need to plug into this. And we then went on a quest to try to put a team together. In fact, you went on the quest to put a team together. You could tell that the man was like, this thing needs to work out really good. And then came in Mr. Moloyi. Shout out.
Pastor's fave.
Your taxi driver, favorite designer.
Yeah, man. Nami, when I was wrapped in by Richard Saichen, the commando, I was like, hey, Baba, you need to toe the line here, but it was also a WhatsApp conversation. I think for me, it's also nice when you see ideas going from the phone being actually happening. You know? So when he was like, hey bro, this is the idea we have, can you come in with your expertise? Because I think it's also a team. There's a person, each person needs to play a specific role. I'm not saying I'm the Messi of the team, but you need a Ronaldo.
Check this guy.
You need a goalkeeper. Well, you need a striker. You need a coach. So I was like, hey Baba,
Pirate is not playing today.
You need to come in and try to help us with this platform. And that's when the brainstorming of the names of the Brotherhood Brew came through, the branding and how we can push it, and not just it being a platform online, but also how can people interact with the brand.
Yeah, 100%. Like we said earlier on, we're not alone. There is somebody in the background. We need this guy to come and say what's up on the camera.
Yeah,
sure.
We need this guy to come and say what's up on the camera. Hey, yo, Bob Frank, I know you're busy. Come grab a mic. Come say what's up to the people. Because you also make this happen. Come through, bro.
Frank. Jump in. This is Frank, gents.
This is Frank, guys. This is our producer.
Yeah.
Our videographer. He's the main man behind everything,
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
The question is, when you got pulled through to do this, what were your thoughts?
Oh, okay. Thanks for the question. Look, I was also always wanting to be featured in a kind of man, thingy.
Sure. Yeah.
I also feel like men need some
platforms to talk.
Yeah, like men are struggling out there.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's close to my heart is to see men succeeding. Then I was very happy when I was approached. I was like, dude, let's go for it.
Plus, you lead the men's ministry camp. So, hey,
Wow, interesting. Thanks, guys.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, Frank.
Sure.
I know one of the things that underpins what we're trying to do here is build a platform which can lead towards things like discipleship.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody wants to share any journey that they had around discipleship, which would make them want to share discipleship moments with other people.
Just the thought. I think this morning when I left the house, I just I knew you were gonna ask this question somewhere like, what is Brotherhood Brew?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try and
condense it.
Yeah, and also bringing the discipleship inside the same question. So my while I was processing it, I thought, okay, there's probably someone out there, and asking themselves, how do I plug in? What is Brotherhood Brew? How do I plug in and to join what these guys are doing? And my answer was, Brotherhood Brew can mean two different things for me. It can mean that you're gonna commit to say, I'm gonna give a brother a call. Once a week, I'm gonna phone a brother that I haven't spoken to in a while. I'm gonna invite a brother for a coffee.
Okay.
Once a month. So it the brotherhood is a decision to me.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, so
Intentional.
it's an intentional decision to say, I'm gonna do this. That's the brotherhood. The brew is the action.
Oh.
Now you're making it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hey, you dropping bars on us here, bro. Guys is dropping bars on us, bro.
So in my world,
That's beautiful.
coming back to you, Jay, discipleship, doesn't necessarily mean that we only talking spirituality.
Yeah.
We're talking about brotherhood.
Sure.
We're talking about
Real life.
me looking after you, Tabo. How are you doing?
Yeah.
Checking up on you. How are you doing, Tabo? What's going on?
We
Where
had-
you at?
We had pirate lost.
Yeah.
How are you dealing with that?
So for me, to somebody who's out there and asking them, so how do I plug in? That's me. That's how you plug into Brotherhood Brew. It's just you making a decision to say, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna check up on this brother. I'm gonna give this brother a call. I'm gonna invite this brother for coffee. Now you're part of the community. You're part of Brotherhood Brew.
Yeah,
That's me for. Yeah.
that's good.
And maybe to add to what Rich is saying, because I think for me, titles are important. So sometimes when I hear the word discipleship, it scares me a bit, But I think when I then heard the Brotherhood Brew, I think then it said to me, it's a community. We are working with other men, who may struggle with similar things that we are going through, and I think that on its own it created an informal setting.
Yeah.
Because like what Richard was saying, sometimes when we hear the word discipleship, we're only thinking we're talking about spiritual things.
stuff. Yeah.
But the brotherhood now is meaning like, hey man, let's go and hang at House of Carries, for example, and just catch up in terms of what's going on. Where are you in your walk? So it could be career, it could be family.
Yeah, I mean that's very important in any community, to have people who you can surround yourself with, who can hold you accountable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think when we look at the underpinnings of what we're building here is, create a foundation or a platform where we can hold each other accountable.
Yeah.
And invite other men into that space as well, who we can also hold accountable. So we can build a community which is, I suppose, fruitful to an extent. Because I mean, if you have got men who are struggling, chances are the personal struggles will filter into, the marketplace. You know what I'm saying? So your workspace, your family space, all these things, they get affected. And so if we're holding each other accountable, then ultimately it means that we're becoming more productive as a society.
Yeah.
And I think positioning ourselves, as a platform where people can come in and hold each other accountable is us positioning ourselves for, building a fruitful community. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I think it's important to, even though we're having this conversation, but, thinking future. And that's what the Brotherhood Brew is all about. You know what I mean? But yeah, on the Brotherhood Brew, we've got the men's table.
Sure. Yes. Yeah.
The men's table, guys, is basically the podcast side of the Brotherhood Brew. And, I think we did mention that we want to invite people coming through, having different topics. I don't know, last week we had a very awesome
guest. Stay tuned for that one. We're not gonna spoil it.
Actually, I should be saying next week we're having. So you're gonna edit that out, Frank.
Yeah.
So next week we're having a very awesome guest.
Yeah.
And we intend on doing that as regular as possible to keep the topics going.
Sure. Yeah.
As real life men, we need to address real life issues.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I don't know if you want to plug into that and say something else.
I think for me,
around topics anyway.
Yeah, it's also just as we are growing, man, is to just set those goals as a platform, So, because I think as we are growing, there's certain things we're gonna find ourselves tapping into. Next thing, we might be called by a church to like host a camp, those type of things. So I think it's also just having a vision for ourselves and saying, on which aspects are we contributing to society and to men? Because I for one, I keep hearing my wife when she's talking about influencers, like that person is a girl's girl, meaning like she only talks about lady stuff.
Okay.
I'm here to find like a guy's guy, and I would like to be a guy's guy. Like I'm like a person who like stands with other brothers, like and I think as a society, without just going around to go to we find ourselves being in situations, and sometimes we don't want to stand with brothers, because of like where society has put us in. We've got labels like men are trash, so like we also don't want to be associated or affiliated with specific things. But I think we also just need men who will be upright and say, yes, what that guy did was wrong, but at the same time we need to bring them into a society where they can understand their transgressions and what they did, which that's not right.
Yeah. There's a conversation I was having with somebody not so long back, which was how do you correct in love?
Yeah.
How do you correct in love? And just trying to plug into what you're saying, if we are as men unable to bring correction in love meaning in truth,
Sure.
it means that we're lying to ourselves.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that's something that the Brotherhood brews in the foundation of its mission.
Yeah.
Because part of our mission is to cultivate a Christ-centered community.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So we need to speak in truth. The love is bringing truth. And sometimes I know we're going to get times where people will not necessarily agree with what we're saying, but doesn't mean that now we should stop saying the truth. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, if we want a fruitful society, we need to be willing to make the tough conversations happen. You know what I mean? I don't know if you want to add on that.
Yeah, I think just to maybe tap on something else, for me also, this is also as the men's table, it's also a platform where we bring in people that you've never heard about.
Sure.
I think it's important that we understand that not everyone is in the public space, is the only one who has
The voice.
Yeah. I think for me there is men with power, there's men who have done well in leadership, and no one has ever heard about them. There's men that are leading churches, men that are leading their homes, men that are leading in corporate, men that are leading in business, great entrepreneurs, that we've never heard about, because probably also they prefer to keep themselves quiet. Maybe hidden also, if I can say. So this is also a platform where we get to invite those people, and just give them a platform to be able to tell their story, and we learn from their story. We partner with them. And they'll help us as a community even to grow in the areas of struggle, areas of business, areas of family.
Sure, that's beautiful, guys. Let's bring this to a wrap. I think we've been able to cover the gist of what we're trying to build here, and I'm just looking forward to us working together. I think there's a lot that God wants to do through this crew here,
Amen.
through this brew.
Yeah.
through this brew. And I'm just looking forward to what God is gonna do. I mean, we're looking forward to, who knows, conferences,
Hey, bro.
Yeah.
camps.
Come on.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I just want to see God's spirit move through it all. There's somebody who said something the other time I was reading something. They were saying people have come to a place, men included, where we stop expecting miracles from God. You know what I mean? It's like, because society is just so engrossed in the everyday world.
Yeah.
Like, when you pray, you don't expect that God's gonna hear you anymore. You don't expect that people are gonna get healed anymore.
Sheesh.
So like, I'm just in a place where I'm thinking, wow, we have an opportunity and a platform where we can see God's hand working and moving. And I'm excited to see what God's gonna do with us as a group. With Bob Frank in the background, with Tate Muloi, Richard here, myself, coming together as men who fear the Lord, want to see something change. And I'm just looking forward to that. So, on a wrap up, you want to say anything?
Parting words. I think my parting words is thank you to you guys for actually taking this thing seriously. So as Richard speaks about being intentional, this is also us being intentional in wanting to pursue what God has planted in our hearts, in a way of wanting to say, guys, we're going to take our time out to just share the little we have in imparting to other brothers we believe in. So man, hit us on the comment sections. Let us know what you guys think of our platforms and how we can partner with other like-minded, or even if you know other people like what Richard was saying, who you feel like are spearheading communities.
100%.
I think for me, like I said earlier, just remember something, that the brotherhood starts with you. It's a decision, So the best way to contribute to this community, to this movement, if I can say, is it's a decision. Just to say, you know what, I'm gonna stand in for my brother.
Yeah.
I'm gonna carry that brother through whatever he's going through. If you know anyone who's struggling, if you know anyone who needs help somewhere, not only struggling, if we say struggling, we think about maybe mental, physical, but sometimes, even business struggle, but you got wisdom, you got a connections that can help a brother, hook a brother up, have a coffee with the brother, tell him what you see, even, ideas of helping somebody with their project, just that, so it's a decision for me. If you want to plug in, just make a decision, I'm going to be a brother to somebody, that's how you plug in, and give that brother a call, invite that brother for coffee. I think the best thing to me, or if I would want to see something happening from this, is I want to see men building a community, wherever they are, where men celebrate each other, where men pray for each other, where men, because that will change the community.
That's true.
You can see what's going on right now in South Africa. We can see what's going on in the world with men. But to change that, it's a decision.
That's true.
It's a decision that you have to make today to say, you know what, I'm going to walk with this brother. I'm going to walk with Tabo. I'm going to walk with Jay. I'm going to grab Frank. We're going to change the narrative.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. That's good. And that is the Brotherhood Brew, guys. This is us. Today, we were just trying to speak to you all a little bit about what we're doing, how we're going to go about it. But at the end of the day, we want you guys to get involved. So please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. See y'all on the other side.